Hey, welcome back to Real Talk with me, Nick, giving you guys company all the way until 5 p.m. We're talking about a lot of things that is happening in the UK. The COVID test firms, is one of them. And the COVID test firm, they cut the prices of their COVID tests amid the criticism over the costs of these tests. So yeah, the cost of coronavirus testing for holiday makers has been slashed amid the growing pressure from the travel industry. So Randox, one of the biggest suppliers of the PCR test under the UK's testing for travel scheme, has reduced the price from £100 to £60. So that's £40 reduction. That's almost 50% of the reduction that they did. So yeah, travel organizations, ABTA warned that the cost was still a significant restrictions for a lot of people, and other industry figures, including the boss of EasyJet, have said that the requirement could price out travelers. So travelers are essentially going to be burdened, and they're going to burn out from all of this paying. I mean, it's going to be really pricey when it comes to traveling. So foreign holidays are currently banned though, and returning travelers have to quarantine on arrival. So yeah, the highest possible date for foreign travel rather from England has previously been given as the 17th of May, but it's not been confirmed as of yet. So the First Minister of Scotland and Wales have argued that it is too early for foreign holidays. So for England, destination countries will be in one of the three categories, and this is the traffic light system. Essentially, it's green, amber, or red, and each one will require passengers to take like a pre-departure COVID test as well as a PCR test as you return to the UK. So consumer groups, which has estimated that each PCR test, which is just one of the test needed, could be costing up to £120 per person. So that's £120 per person. That's a lot of money involved, especially when it comes to tests. It sounds really pricey. And yet for the ordinary backpacker or traveler, it is not something that they can afford at this moment in time. But Mark Tanzer, the chief executive of the Association of British Travels Agents, said that although one of the leading suppliers had cut costs, that is £60 is still a lot of money, particularly for families of four or five. And he, further added that their better solution is not to have a PCR test. That's what he's saying. And he's speaking in front of the Transport Select Committee. So many MPs questioned why these PCR tests are typically up to 80% cheaper overseas. Well, Mr. Chandler said, I can't see anything in the UK that is different about the PCR, that it means it is more expensive than anywhere else. So criticism has come from, there's been a lot of criticism stemming from this costly PCR tests. So one of the other parts of the industry looking to, salvage a key period of the summer trade. And this is just unacceptable. So Johan Lundgren, the chief executive of EasyJet, said on Wednesday that EasyJet was founded to make travel accessible for all, and so we continue to engage with the government to ensure that the costs of the required testing is driven down. So Mr. Lundgren said that may risk, he added that may risk turning back the clock and making travel too costly for some. So for something like this, it's just going to be really expensive. And the airline also said that many European countries were planning to resume flying at scale in May. So booking for summer travel, is essentially depending on the restrictions easing, will help boost the airline finances, which has been squeezed during the pandemic. I mean, there's not a lot of people flying around, around the world, around the globe, anywhere, actually flying around anywhere because of this pandemic, especially when it comes to the risks and a lot of these procedures before, when you enter a country or before you exit a country, you have to do a lot of these tests. It's just going to be really expensive. So that is just one of the reasons why it is difficult for a lot of people to travel. So yeah, passenger numbers from the 6 months to 31st of March fell by 89% to 4.1 million. So this led to a total group revenue for the same period dropping by 90% to 235 million pounds, while it expects a pre-tax loss of essentially 690 to 730 million pounds. So, they've been saying that this company has been saying that, enough flexibility has enough flexibility, to simply significantly ramp the capacity up or down quickly. And according to customers, customers are booking closer to departure and visibly remains limited. So yeah, they just essentially, the problem is a lot of these customers are not going to be booking ahead, 1 week ahead or 2 weeks ahead. They're going to be booking just a couple of days ahead, maybe 3 days or 2 days ahead of their schedule. So this is something that is, it is overwhelming for especially when it comes to these travel companies and these airline companies, and they are being overwhelmed, and they can't control it, and they are concerned about this. And this is something, that they are trying to address as well. So yeah, that is just crazy stuff happening right there. And there's other things also happening in Northern Ireland. So yeah, the Protestant and Catholic church leaders have issued a joint St. Patrick's Day statement admitting they have not done enough in the past to heal the divisions in Northern Ireland. So yeah, they say that they hope this year's centenary of Northern Ireland will provide opportunities to create a better level of mutual understanding. So in 1921, a parliament was established in Belfast following the partition of the island of Ireland. And the leaders also reflected on the pandemic and life in the digital age. That is to say the least, and especially with what is going on in Belfast right now, a lot of this violence is happening, and a lot of these groups are attacking and vandalizing the streets. This is just one of the reasons why they are, lamenting the whole situation. And among those, essentially, who signed the statements of this the parliament was the leader of the Catholic Church in Ireland, Archbishop Eamon Martin, and the head of the Presbyterian Church in Ireland, Dr. David Bruce. So yeah, in the church leader statements, they said, we have an opportunity in marking these events from our past to be intentional in creating the spaces for encounter with those who are different from us and those who may feel marginalized in the narratives that have shaped our community identity. So this will require us to face difficult truths about failing in our leadership in the work of peace and reconciliation. As Christian churches, we acknowledge and lament the times that we failed to bring a fearful and divided society that message of the deeper connection that binds us despite our different identities as children of God made in his image and likeness. So we have often been captive churches, not captive to the world of God, but to the idol of state and nation. So yeah, there's been a lot of these signatures to the statements where essentially the Church of Ireland's Archbishop Reverend John MacDonald and President of the Methodist Church, Dr. Thomas McKnight, and the President of the Irish Council of Churches, Dr. Ivan Patterson. They reflected on the peace progress, and they are talking about this. So on the COVID-19 pandemic, they praised the resilience of the public. And then they also talked about the life in the digital age and warned about a temptation to retreat into spaces where our definition of community is limited to those with us. So last week, they officially made the details, and they've made the plans to mark the centenary of Northern Ireland. And as part of the program, our religious service will be organized by the church leaders. So that's just something that is happening in Northern Ireland. And with that being said, though, we are going to be taking a quick break. So keep it locked right here on Relaks Radio with me, Nick, keeping you company on Real.